So, full disclosure, just seeing the Unity editors is making me want to quit development, become a gardener or a baker, or a tool is supposed to make your life easier, make your work faster, and Unity is constantly getting into my way. It's making me slower. Let's close the window because people are crazy, the usual. So that's the reason why years ago I switched to my own engine, because Unity was just doing anything was taking forever, right? So let's actually, so before the stream, right? I had this view from last stream. Nothing changed, and all I did was press play, right? So it got this dialogue, and that was open for literally 5 minutes. I don't know what it was doing. And I'm like, 5 minutes? In 5 minutes, I can fix 10 problems with the fish movement. So, enough blabbering. But the likelihood that after this project, I will never use Unity again, unless somebody pays me a ton of money for it, is very high. We will still finish this project in Unity because that was the plan, and then we do maybe some magic happens and stuff is much easier in Unity, and the end result will be different. But if you ask me at this moment, your own custom engine, Godot or Unity, it would be between my own custom engine and Godot. Unity wouldn't even be in the mix. No chance in hell. Even if Helsinki freezes over, and I heard it's starting to snow, no. I mean, why professional developers use Unity, I have no clue. There's no reason whatsoever. Cargo culting. Probably cargo culting. Somebody else does it, so I have to do it. Right? Enough rambling. So, for those of you who missed what we're doing here, right? We are redoing Fiiish. So this is the V2 version. So V0 was done in Flash over a weekend. Then V1 was done in C++ and a bit of Objective-C and a bit of Java, but mostly in C++. 10 years ago? I think the original is already 15 years ago, and the V1 was done 12 to 10 years ago. There was the development, and then 3 years ago I did the Rust version. Naked, no engine, just pure OpenGL and very basic libraries, right? You can see we are just rendering 6 vertices for this whole bloody thing here, right? Which is not true. It's 2 materials with 6 vertices, but so the idea is to re-implement this, right? To re-implement this whole bloody thing and just a bit of behind the scenes, but that's what we're doing, and we're doing it in Godot, and we're doing it in Unity. And I'm gonna stop this now, and we're gonna kind of leapfrog, right? We do a bit of Godot, then we do a bit of Unity, and then we do a bit of Godot, and then we do a bit of Unity, and we kind of do multiple items, so it's never, oh, we did this in Godot first, and now it's easy in Unity. We do A in Godot, then A and B in Unity, then B and C in Godot. So they kind of have a head start, right? And you saw, if you saw the last stream, the zone management in Unity is much better in the one in Godot, because we did it in Godot and then we did it in Unity, right? And we're tracking our progress. And this can't be right, but we're tracking a bit what we did when. And let's see how we're doing. And then at the end, we'll kind of have a result and look into various things like costs and speed of development and quality of the resulting binary game and so on, right? So we are at the moment where we add zones, and the zones, we want to load the original zones, right? So we wrote the zone loader for Godot, and then zone management, and then we wrote the zone loader for Unity, and then zone management, and we kind of got to the point, okay, we have, we can load the zones, right? We can load the zones, and I'm going to zoom out here, but we can load the zones. Background is not scrolling, that's very far down the list, right? Because we want the game first. We can load the zones, and we have zone management. So when one zone ends, you get the next zone, or you can just jump to the next zone, right? And that's all working in Godot. So basically we have a game. We have a game and the collisions also work. I'm not going to collide. I want to swim a bit further, but that works in Godot, right? And also tweaking, we took all the values from the origin and respawning, we took all the original animation values to make it very close. Ideally, I want the identical game. So there's no, oh, we did it like this because Unity makes this easier, we did it like this because this is impossible in Godot, or we make the original game and this is the spec. The Rust version is a reference. So if you run them side by side, you shouldn't be able to distinguish them. This is Godot, and this is how far we got in Unity. And probably gonna show me a loading bar again. This is the Unity version, right? Which is a bit behind. I mean, technically we invested the same time into Unity, so it should be a bit ahead, but we managed to get to the point where we load zones and we don't spawn at the right point at the moment and we don't respawn. But if we kill the fish, all of that works, same animation. And there's only a single frame death animation. We never made the fish die, and the respawning works. And as soon as I start the game, I have the same zone. And we did a visual comparison. All that spawns in the right position. So our coordinate systems are similar. There's one glitch in Godot. It's upside down and not centered, so the Y goes in the other direction, and it's not centered at 0, but we use this sub viewport to handle that. So, and the dying works, and the respawning works, and so what I need to do now is, this is one hard-coded zone, right? And I'm not going to press Command Q here. I'm going to press stop because I don't want to quit out of Unity by accident. So right now, and we had to pay $30 a month for a decent editor because you can't work with Unity without having an external editor. Don't ask. And basically we have, where did we do it? We have one hard-coded zone somewhere. Where's the zone loading? Somewhere we do load the zone, right? So spawn zone spawns the zone. Oh, this is the entity config, which we put into the same file. Okay, my bad. So when we start, we add all the entities, and that's the rocks. And we made that nice and clean while the Godot version. I'm not going to do a line by line comparison. You can watch. And then here we load this hard-coded zone, right? So what I want to do today, step 1, load all the zones and be able to spawn all the zones and have that debug menu that says go to next menu. And I also would like to, so yes, we're comparing to Godot again. No, this is Unity, wrong one, and I can't stop because, right? So I want this, and we have this preview with the debug camera, so we see when actually something spawns in, we see where it spawns in, right? Without it spawning in. We really should have a pause button here, which we don't, but we can kill the fish and it stops moving. So I want this view, and this would be super nice because it's super helpful for debugging, right? And the border as well. So I'm dreading this a bit, and I'm talking to get out of this, but I'm not going to get out of this. But we'll have to do some kind of debug menu, right? It doesn't have to look exactly the same, but I want a menu that shows us stuff, right? So step 1, I actually want a UI with a slider that does nothing, and 3 buttons that set the slider to, I think it's 60%, 25%, and I don't know, 50%, 25%, and 100%. Step one. Let's do that, right? Let's quit out of here. So how do I do that in Unity? I have no clue. So this is our main camera, right? So the main camera has some stuff. It has clipping near and far planes. Does it have scale? Can I just? Oh wow, it's probably it should lock, right? So we have something that we can scale, right? So that is the thing that we want to connect to the slider. Probably we still have to draw the outline. We'll figure that out. But step one is let's add a GUI, right? And I probably say create. What do I create? UI. So I probably want a canvas, right? And I hate this dialogue. This dialogue is so because I don't know what is. So I probably want a canvas, right? A canvas, and here I'm gonna cheat a bit because we're gonna do the same thing as we did here, right? So, and scenes is a bit misleading because scenes is basically also prefabs, but we have the main scene here, right? So we have the game and the debug UI. So I want a debug UI canvas, right? And that is, I'm not sure about the rendering order, so I put this here, and just for consistency, so we find what is what, right? Debug UI. This is our UI. I have no idea why. Oh, this is the scene, right? I have no idea why this is not within my viewport. I mean, screen space overlay sounds right? And there's no help here, so if I press play now, this looks offset, right? So, and I see the frames of the debug UI because I have selected in the, right? So if I deselect it, it has this border. Okay, interesting. So I'm pretty sure there's some, can I right click and say set to, I mean, I could probably just, so I cannot move it, right? So where do I, how do I edit this? I have the debug UI here, right? But I cannot edit this. Why not? Okay, let's just add a panel, right? So I want something that is like a panel. So I don't know, panel? Panel sounds good. I want a panel, right? So if I press play now, I have this panel, which I'm not sure what this here is. The panel seems to be in the right spot. Okay, so I can move the contents, but not the UI. Oh, because, okay. Yeah. Because my game here is centered at 0, right? My game here is centered at 0, but for UI, this is 0, right? So it needs to be, um, So I want this anchored to the bottom left, right? I want this to be anchored here, just like this, and then have this panel in here, right? So let's create the panel first, and then worry about sizing, right? So I add more UI. So how do I add a horizontal box there, a vertical box there? How do I put... So I want a slider in here, right? And I want the slider under the buttons. So if I put a... Can I move this? So I want a slider here, right? So if I press play, UI is a solved problem, right? So I have this slider here, which is nice and probably already works. Okay. How do I manage the layout of that? Unity UI vertical box container. I mean, that's how we've done UI for 40 years now. So vertical layout group, Unity UI 1.1. Layout group. How do I do a layout group? So where do I find this? Layout group. Okay. Okay. So I want a layout group in this panel, right? So add UI. There's no layout group. Where? How do I add there is individual items, right? But how do I group them? How do I, can I just right click and say make group? Okay, I guess I have to, it's not intuitive, so Unity UI documentation, right? Let's read the RT manual, user interface, right? UI toolkit is the newest UI system. UI toolkit. Comparison of, so there are multiple UI systems apparently. Okay. How do I use UI toolkit? So I want a tree and I want layout. Okay, Unity toolkit has a layout engine, right? Flexbox. Okay, that's good. So how do I get started with UI toolkit? Can I just click this stuff together? Get started. Get started with runtime UI. No. 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 No, 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 no. I'm not, no, I'm not starting to write. No, no, really. It's honestly. Okay, so I have to create a UI document, and please tell me that UI Builder is a visual tool. Lets you create visual. Okay, okay. Let's start again, right? No, I think we just killed Unity. So let's delete this, right? And let's add create UI toolkit document, right? Let's call it debug UI2 for the moment. I think it probably, so this is a canvas, right? So I guess we just disable this for the moment and look into this, right? UI Builder. How do I start UI Builder? How do I get started with UI Builder? Create a new UI document. How do I start UI Builder? Obviously, oh, it's in the window. Wow. So obviously the first thing I wanted to see, right? So get started, create a new document. Okay. Create a project in Unity. Select window UI toolkit, say new. Okay, name it as, we call it debug UI, right? So I say viewport file new. Viewport file new. Name it. Where do I name it? Where do I name it? Save as. Probably needs to be in assets, and let's call it UI, right? And let's call it debug UI. We have a debug UI now, right? And I want to add some stuff. So how do I? So this is style sheets, right? So can I just right click and, okay. So we have stuff here, right? So can we, how do I search for a slider? I want a slider, right? I want a slider, and I can drag this in, which is nice, but how? How the, where's containers, right? How the, okay. Okay, how do I group this, right? I mean, this is nice. Can I preview this somewhere? Can I just press play and see it, or can I cannot. Can I save this? Okay, let's save this. I'm going to move this to the other screen and say this debug UI here. This debug UI uses the debug UI, right? So if I press play now, will I see my slider? Wow. I mean, I have a slider here. Nice, I guess. So how do I make this? I don't want to scale it. I just wanted to use the, can I attach that to the bottom left, please? So what if we scale this to 25%, right? Probably nothing will happen. right? So if I go to the scene here and click here, and they can do whatever I want here, right? Doesn't really matter. None of this does anything, right? Okay, so I'm gonna set this back to 1 real quick. Let's, right? Just so we didn't break anything. So I go back here and I want this to be the bottom left panel, right? So can I put this in here, right? And then put this in here. I didn't, what the, and then I save this here, move this out of the way. I think unit, I didn't tell you to, I just wanted a slider, right? And okay, so maybe, can I just, oh, if I press undo, it's undoing here and not in. So I don't have undo in the UI builder, none whatsoever. It's, okay, let's move the slider manually out here. Let's remove the rect field, right? Yeah, so maybe we don't use this. This seems to be like, can I add some bounce here? I mean, where's my, what happens if I add a second bounce field here? Can you not put that under the slider, please? Okay, so I have 2 fields here now, right? So if I put the slider in the first one, why does it, it's inside, it's not, this doesn't make any sense. And I cannot undo, right? So I'm gonna drag the slider out here again. This doesn't make any sense. Okay, let's give up on this, right? Let's save this. So we're going back here. Debug UI. Why is my UI here? So UI, right? I mean, UI. I have no idea. All I want is 3 buttons and a slider, right? I want a button here, right? Whatever. So we have a button here, right? And I want the where do I set the text on the button? Where do I set the text? Where do I set the text for the button? I just want, I mean, get what I'm doing here? I mean, now I have a button in the middle of the screen, nice, but that's not what I want. And where does this slider come from? Oh, okay. Let's delete this, right? And hope the slider is gone, which randomly appears at runtime. But where does this frame come from here? What is this? None of this makes any sense. So I want to create a panel, right? Let's create a panel. I want a panel, right? It's probably a canvas. Can I have a canvas and on a canvas? I can. Right, so what if I put this button on this canvas? And this canvas I hopefully can move, right? I want this anchor. I want this to be set. I want this to be set to the bottom left, right? Did that do it? I clicked. I want it to be set to the bottom left, right? Oh, so now my button, not bottom, my button, which is centered. Okay, the canvas is bottom left of the canvas, which is in the wrong position. So if I duplicate this, right, the second button, which is behind that other button. So if I move this position here, right, you can see, okay. Why Unity? UI is such a trivial problem. I mean, remember, go back to that 3-year-old stream where it took us 2 days to write a UI system in Rust, which I didn't know back then. Okay. Unity UI full screen. I just want a full screen overlay that fits the creating a screen space overlay UI. Okay. Let's do that again, right? Let's delete everything we did. Bam, done. We have our game, right? I'm gonna do this thing in Godot in literally 3 minutes without ever reading the documentation. So, okay. Click this. In the UI hierarchy, right click and select UI canvas. Everything begins by creating a canvas. Right click, UI canvas, right? That's what we did. That's what we did. And let's name it debug UI, right? Thank you for debug UI. Then it tells us to go into 2D mode, right? Because I cannot move this thing. Okay, fine with me, right? So click 2D can be edited in 3D. In the inspector, locate the canvas scaler and change the UI scale mode to scale with screen size. Yeah, that makes sense. So canvas scaler, scale with screen size. Right? We're doing this step by step. Yes, it does. I forgot where we set the project settings, right? Project settings, player 1920 by 1080 is our default, right? It would be nice if the project has a standard size if it just used that, right? So Okay, so we have our debug UI here, right? Which does nothing. Configure the match slider based on the UI needs. Wow. So basically we can tell it with a slider if it should be widths, heights, or and we can go halfway between that. Okay. Well, let's keep the match mode as is, right? No need to muddy the waters. You know how to create a canvas. Okay. Yeah, I knew that already. Uh, can I just continue without it? Can I just continue without an account, please? Can I just do this? How? Seriously? Oh no, you broke the internet. Thank you. Oh, go away. You know what? I cannot move this to the other screen. You know what happens to people who do that? You get banned, my friend. You get banned. So, can I do this without an account, please? Okay. I'm gonna log into my account real quick. Sorry about this. Sign in. I would love to sign in, but okay, mark complete. Okay. I'm not going to sign in on screen. I'm not that. I want to hide this for the moment. Can you please just. Okay, I cannot sign in, so I cannot go to the next step. I mean, who needs a tutorial, right? It's signing in. I got a spinning bar. So, okay. I'm signed in. What do you mean start again? How the, how do I UI? I want to learn UI because I'm too stupid to add a button. I just want the basics. 1 hour. Okay, I hope this creates a UI, right? I mean, I don't want a video. I don't want video tutorials. Okay. So maybe this magic scale with screen size here was already what we needed, right? So let's add a slider. What could go wrong? Right, let's zoom slider. And let's press play. Why is this in the middle of the screen? Why is the canvas not aligned to the camera? And this is our game camera, right? So what? Unity, 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 Unity. Nothing ever works as you expected. and drag the camera from the hierarchy to it. So what if we put the debug UI under the camera? Nothing changes. What if we set this to scale with screen size? Okay, where's my slider? There's my slider. Okay. Okay, we're getting somewhere. I'm not sure. The problem now is if I change the camera, right? If I change the camera, oh, my UI, so the, why? Why does the UI need the camera if it then completely ignores the camera, right? The UI, so the UI needs the camera and then ignores the camera, right? So I want this slider to be in the bottom left. I want this to be in the bottom left, and I set it to X0 and Y0, right? So it's in the bottom left now. So you see my slider here is in the bottom left. It doesn't make any sense that I have to do that manually, but I have a slider. Okay, let's not make this too complicated, right? I still don't get why. Okay, let's create a panel, right? I want a panel. I want a panel. And I want this panel in the bottom left corner, right? And then I want this 0, 0. And I want this to be, I don't know. Why do I have to do the math in my head? Can I just say a quarter of the screen? I can, okay. And I want this also to be a quarter of the screen, right? Can I just do... It's not technically what I want, but let's do this again, right? So we have kind of a more I'm not sure this is a quarter of the screen, right? 1080 is the... 540, 270, right? Let's say 400. Doesn't really matter. Let's not make things too complex, right? So this is my canvas. I have no idea. This is the width of the canvas, right? This is the width of my canvas, of my panel. Why is the background only showing part of this? I don't have to make sense out of this, right? Why is the panel here? Why is this only filling part of the... It should be overlapping with the fish right now, right? Should cut the fish in. Oh, okay, my bad. My bad, because it's behind the background. Needs to be up here, right? Can we... So the problem is... The problem is that my debug UI... I cannot move it to the front. How can the debug UI be... And usually I would say I put it down here, right? So it comes after game. And the panel is here and the slider is in the panel, right? So it's cut off because it's behind the background, right? So it's actually the sizing is working. So how do I make the UI appear in front? I cannot. Why can I? Let's make it debug UI, right? So we can, oh, obviously sorting layer is debug UI. Now it is in front. Okay. People say Unity is easy. Probably just want to protect their very specific knowledge. So this is our debug UI, right? And I want the debug UI. No, okay. We have this panel, right? That is our corner panel. Let's make this. Let's actually steal this size from here, right? I want this size here. And this size basically says, oh no, let's go in here. Actually, we have this panel here, right? And this panel basically says, yeah, bottom left. Bottom left, make it as big as you need it, right? There's no. So let's make it 305 by 204. And this will just be as big as it needed. If I make more buttons, if I make the sliders bigger, it will be bigger. Automatic layout. I mean, who needs automatic layout in 2024 when we can just do it manually, right? So let's make it 305 by, let's make it 300 by 300, right? Because nice round numbers. Let's just manually enter numbers here. So if we press play now, we have this nice overlay. And I manually so I have the zoom slider here, right? I have the zoom. And just for reference, this is what we're trying to build, right? Which literally took like 60 seconds in Godot. So let's put the zoom label in front of it, right? So what I want is, I want this slider to be somewhere here, and then I want to add a label, right? Let's add UI text, right? So okay. So this is a zoom, right? Let can I move this here, please, and then put the slider right, and we probably need to make this smaller manually. Something like this, right? I don't really care at this point anymore. I just want it's a debug view, right? It's debug. So Unity, and hey, so we do have a zoom slider. All right, so let's add 3 buttons. Let's add 1 button. And can I group this? Can I group this? Can I group this somehow? Oh. Oh. So I think I just killed Unity. So here in component, we have layout. Oh, so here in UI, we don't have anything that hints at layout, right? And here, I don't have anything that even hints at layout, right? But here in component, oh, can I add a component to the panel? Okay, it's a component on the panel. It's not an object in the tree, right? So I add a component and say vertical layout group, right? Okay. I have a vertical layout group, right? Child alignment is upper left. So how do I add? So will it? Oh, now, okay. So it added these two. Okay. So can I add an empty here? What if I add an empty here and call this zoom box, right? I add the zoom box here. I add the zoom box here at the top and add a component here that says horizontal layout group, right? And then I add the slider and the label to the zoom box. Obviously the label now needs, maybe we were a bit, maybe we make the zoom label a bit wider. I'm not sure why it's doing a line break here. So let's do this, right? That slightly better. I mean, that means when we change the, it will auto adapt. Okay. So it's a it's not in the tree, it's a component on the parent. I didn't do that. It's ah! I mean, obviously you see the layout here, right? It's, you clearly see what I'm doing here. Actually, gonna call this zoom horizontal box, H box, right? And this panel is the V box. So I'm gonna add a new empty, create empty, call this zoom buttons H box, right? Gonna move this in front. I'm gonna add a child component, horizontal group. And I'm not sure why this is not auto layouting, but if I add a button here now, UI button, and call this small zoom button. All right, I don't know where I fixed the text. Where do I set the text? Okay. So this is a text, test my a button, right? Button text my tag Unity button text mesh pro set text. I mean, this needs to be localized, right? How do I change the text? Oh, I'm not the only one. I mean, it's a button, right? Where do I change the frickin' text? And why is this box? Okay, this box should be full width, right? Stretches this. Wait, can you just stretch? Right? It stretches in the, can you? I'm not what shouldn't this show me my stretch? Shouldn't this visualize what I did here? Would be asking too much, right? Oh, so we have a button here, right? I want that button smaller, obviously, but I want to change the text of this button. How do I change the text of this button? How do I change the text of this button? Or maybe too obvious. It's not visible when you don't fold it out. Okay. Let's say, how do I also want the font smaller, right? So Centered is fine. Let's make this a bit smaller and right. So this is the small button. Nice. I mean, I saw something like padding here, so let's add 4, 4, 4, 4, right? Let's see how that works. So if I duplicate the small button and rename that to the medium button, right? Medium zoom button. Obviously, I have to fold this out so I can change the text. Medium. Fold that back in, duplicate that, and rename that to normal zoom button, right? Small, medium, normal, just like over here, right? Obviously, I have to go into the child here. It's not a component, right? So, and if I run this now, I have the nice kind of buttons that are auto-aligned. I have small, medium, and normal. They do nothing, so let's do the... So what I don't get is this box here, right? Wait, this box here has this height, and this box... Why is this box so high? Okay, I get it, I get it, I get it. Why is this not aligned in the middle? Because this H box, child alignment, middle left. Okay, that's not the middle, so probably the label needs to be aligned. Let's not make this too complex. All I want to do now is, okay, let's create another empty, not here, but I can move that, which is the bottom spacer, right? And I actually wanted it in the panel, and I wanted it below the zoom box. And then I can use this to move this up, and I can make this as big as I want, right? Because the others will use as much as they can and it will get pushed off screen. This is roughly what I wanted, right? I mean, it's a bit hacky here, but okay. Let's default the zoom to 1.0, right? And we're doing this slider here, right? And the range is 0. Wait, the range is 0.1 to 2, and the step size is 0.05, right? Just same behavior. So the range for this zoom slider here. Where do I set the range? Min value is 0.1. It's not whole numbers, and the value is 1, right? Can I change the step size? I cannot change the step size. Or maybe I can and have to go into the child, right? But this looks goodish now for now. And where do I set the step size? Left to right. I cannot set the step size, which annoys me, but okay. So now it's getting interesting, right? We want to do something when we press the small button. And we're copying from Godot now. I would be copying from the original Rust project from the V2, but that doesn't have that menu, right? So when I press this button, I have this connection that sets the zoom slider to 25%, right? So when I press this button here, this button, how do I on click? I want yeah, I want the I want to select my script folder. I want to okay. Why don't we? This obvious. So why don't we, for the whole debug UI, create one script, right? So we add a component. That is a new script, right? And that is the debug UI. So this is the, I'm not sure where it's saved that. Can we? I'm going to move that in Unity. I'm a bit scared. I clicked here and it went full screen. So I'm gonna, where's this new script that I just created? Debug UI. I'm gonna move that into scripts, right? Into scripts, into, and it's rebuilding. Can it wait, please, till I did something useful? So this button, right? This button on click. I want to call the debug UI script, right? We have to remove this because we don't use this. What will happen if I press this button now? How can it allow me to? Okay, nothing is happening, which is okay. So how do I? Unity UI handle button click. I mean, scripting. Okay, what if you have a function that says on click small zoom button? Can we do that? Can we do that and just do nothing here, right? Just do nothing. Not sure why this is red. On click small zoom button. So what I would expect after waiting for an hour, right? How do I wire this up? How do in what I basically want is, right? What I want is, and I'm gonna be very unfair to Unity, but I have this container here, right? I add a button. I add a button, right? A button that says Unity, right? I go here and say on pressed. I want the debug UI and have an on pressed, right? on button pressed, right? And I just say print Unity. This is all I want, right? So if I run this now and press the Unity button, it says Unity. That's all I want. Literally took me 15 seconds, right? So, okay, Unity connect button to script function. How to call a function with a button. Yeah? I'm not scripting this, right? Select the button, component, add new entry, symbol, plus. Where's this? Drag the script, create a new game object. What? Public void button, right? Oh, it needs to be public. Okay. It needs to be public. Makes sense. I mean, so if this is public, can I... Thank you for stealing my focus. Where is this? Where is this? How do I get to this list? Select the button in your hierarchy. There's a button component, right? Select the button in your hierarchy. There's a button component. Yeah, thank you. Add new entry. Now you have to drag the game object with the attached script into the new entry field. After that, really? So, okay, we remove this. We're gonna, do I press plus? I press plus. I drag this in here. I would have never found that. I would have never found that. I would have never found that. So what we need now is our debug UI needs to know about the slider, right? Because I want to set, so basically this, we need to wire up this, right? So we need to access the zoom slider, this here, which has the value to the debug UI, right? So the debug UI script needs to have a field, right, that allows us to, my goodness. So we have a public game object, zoom slider, right? And I'm not sure it should be, so let's do game object for now. It's probably slider later, right? So we have a public game object, zoom slider equals null, right? A public zoom, and now the zoom, well, the debug UI has a zoom slider object down here, right? And now we can drag the zoom slider in here so we have access to it, right? And then in the button code we say if zoom slider doesn't equal null. I mean, it's silly that we even have to do that. Then zoom slider dot value. Oh, we can't do that because okay, because this is not a game object, right? This is a slider. This is a slider, and let's check the. Is the type slider? How do I figure out what type this is? Is it type slider? Slider, which probably needs a using, right? Import Unity UI elements. Slider, right? And then since it is a slider, we can say value equals 0.25, right? And this needs to be f since it's a float, not a double. So far, so good, right? So this is a zoom slider. I hope this still works. So if I press the zoom button now, the zoom jumps to 25%, right? I mean, literally this. But okay, so now we have to wire up the others, and we just copy these, right? I'm gonna add a helper that says void set zoom and just gets a float value, right? Float value. And then we put this in there and just say value. We can do some clamping here, but then we can just say set zoom 0.25, right? F. And then we have the zoom medium button. Medium 0.5, and then we have the zoom normal, right? I mean, thank you, Unity. You could just auto-create all of this for me, but you don't. So now what we have to do is for all the buttons, right? So here, can I actually, I have to drag the object in, right? I have to drag the UI in, and then I can select the function that says on normal clicked. On normal clicked, and that, well, no, wrong function, right? On medium clicked, it was the second in the list. So, and here I can say, oh my goodness, this is, how many drags do I have to do to write one line of code? All right, so if I press play now, it is. So small, medium, normal. It's not doing anything yet, but that's a good start, right? So what if we give the slider, I'm pretty sure there's an on value changed, right? We connect something, we connect the debug UI, and we could wire up something, but I assume, so what if we have a public void on zoom changed, and that gets a float, or is it just a void? On zoom changed, right? So far, so good. On zoom changed, we do a debug.log zoom plus value. Let's see. after this loading bar, sponsored by Unity. This is not making me happy, right? So let's look at the console. I get new values here, right? I get them from 2 to 0. I said 0.1 is the min value, right? But we can't reach the min value while dragging. We can't. This says 0.1. Okay, when we drag here, it changes, but when we drag here, it doesn't go all the way down, even if it goes all the way down here. But that might be because we're collapsing. Okay, it's collapsing the messages, my bad. So if we go to normal, it changes the zoom. Okay. 60 minutes to do what took us 60 seconds in Godot. I mean, maybe we will finish this game this year. So, but what we actually want to do is we want to change the camera zoom when we do that, right? So we want to wire that up to the camera zoom. And so for this needs the camera, right? Which needs it's in the game, which is the camera. So we need to wire up this camera to. So my belief is, if I'm looking at this, right, these two objects should talk to each other, but know nothing about the internals. So, but this being Unity, and I'm getting annoyed by doing so many clicks, what we should do is have a game script, and then we have game set camera and get camera zoom. Probably we do that, right? The game here doesn't have a component right now, right? There is no component, so we have the game manager in there, but let's add a component script, right? And let me add that script in the right folder, because otherwise I'm going to go crazy. And thank you for unfolding all of that. So you have our scripts, right? Let's create a new script and call this game. And thank you for losing my focus here, right? And then I drag this. I drag this game component here, right? So this is of type game. So what I want to tell the debug UI, hey, if you want to talk to the game, here's your game, right? So the debug UI has a public game which is null, right? It shouldn't. Thank you for. It has a game, right? So what I can do now is I can take this game and drag it down here, right? Obviously it's down there, so I drag this game down here, so now we have access to the game. So if the game now, and hierarchy important, right? What if the game had a public void set zoom, right? Float value. And it had a public float. I would just like to call this zoom, but probably it should be get zoom. And for now, this just returns 1.0f, right? We're going to use this later. But now the debug UI can say if this dot game not equals null, right? We can say this dot game dot set zoom equals value, right? We just changed the zoom. And I'm going to reduce the noise here a bit because we know this is working. So the game now needs to know about the camera it has, right? Because we probably should search in the hierarchy. So you can wire this up at the high level, right? Because that's outside of the control. But for the this is ourself, right? This is probably prefab, and the game knows about its internal structure, but the debug UI shouldn't know about the external structure, right? So we drag this in here, and it could know about its zoom slider because it's a debug UI. So, but what we could do is we have this main camera, right? And we can actually, it has the tag main camera. So we can find the main camera via this tag, right? Main camera. So the game, what it can do is, and we're going to remember this, right? We're going to say private camera is nice, camera equals null. But on start, we say, and let's call this camera actually. What we say is camera equals get by tag, get component. I have to look this up, right? Unity get child by tag. How to find a child using a tag, exactly. Find with tag. Game object find with tag. It's not get, it's find with tag, right? Find with tag. We are not a game object, we are mono behavior, right? So this is game object, which is this dot game object, right? Find with tag. And the tag is obviously main. Oh, it auto-completed almost main camera, right? Not sure why this is red. Oh, okay. And then we have to do a get component, I guess. Get component. Get component camera, right? Actually, let's do that in 2 lines, right? Camera go equals this. So this is the camera game object. So if it crashes, we know what crashed, right? And then we say camera go dot get component, and the component is camera, right? So we could just do this part here at the end, and then if it crashes, we don't know which part crashed. So we should have a camera now, and this is basically camera scale. We had the scale on the camera, right? I'm not stupid. We had the scale. Oh, it's on the transform. Really? Local scale. Wouldn't it be nice if we had wouldn't it be nice if the transform had documentation? I guess it's the local scale, and that's the vector 3, right? So what if we just say one of these doesn't need to be scaled, right? Oh, it's a new vector 3. Wrong language. My bad. And where's this. Oh, that needs to be a semicolon here. Fair enough. Fair enough. That one's on me, right? That one's on me. So now all should be wired up, right? There's one more thing I would like to do, and this is going to be a bit nasty because of initialization order. Right? So what if in the camera I decided, oh, the default camera is smaller, right? The default camera is this value. If I press play now, this slider here will have the wrong value, right? Because as soon as I click it, the camera will jump because it doesn't know what I did, right? So on initialization, and that's why I had this get zoom, right? And we just return the X, and this is not fully true. This assumes linked, and we probably should have a scale variable on the game instead, and then link that up. Good enough for us, right? So we have a get zoom now. So the debug UI in its start, right? In its start can say, hey, I have my zoom slider, right? I have my zoom slider. And this will double trigger now, but I'm not so concerned, right? So I say var zoom equals game dot get zoom, right? And then I say set zoom zoom. This will round trip once, but setting the same value shouldn't do anything. So if I start now, this slider shouldn't start here. It should jump to kind of the smaller value, right? So I'm at that value. And everything else still works. So initialization is important. Take care. And obviously we want to set this back to 1. And if I press play now, this slider will be at 1, right? I wish I could connect these in the editor directly, but we have our debug zoom now, right? And the nice thing is if we start swimming now, if we start swimming now, our game objects, so this here, right, our obstacles are under the main camera, right? Which is zoomed. So why are our obstacles not zoomed? Why are our obstacles are affected by the camera zoom, right? That's interesting. So if I change the zoom here, right? Okay, let's continue. Let's set the zoom to normal, right? Let's start again. Spawn everything in. And if I set the zoom here, right? This is what I expect to see. All right, this is what I expect to see when I press. Oh, but the problem is we changed the. Okay, my bad, right? Cause, okay, this is the transform, right? But we changed the local zoom of the camera. Okay, I got it, right? So this here, right? This should not change the zoom of the camera. This should change the zoom of the actual game object that is the camera, right? Okay. So So this, right, this is what we want to change. And then obviously this is also what we want to get back. And we could just use game object here, but then people might drag in something that doesn't have a camera, which doesn't make sense, right? I mean, then this would probably fail, but okay. So let's try this again. We changed the wrong thing in the hierarchy, right? So this works, right? This works. We change to a strange value here and press play. And this slider should jump here. So this works, right? This works. So I spawn the rocks, and the rocks are scaling now, but the rocks are not spawn scaled. It would be too simple, right? Oh, I press normal, right? I spawn in some rocks and they're correctly, and I go to small, and this looks good, right? I mean, the frame rate is crazy, but this looks good. The problem is, if I start again and spawn the rocks, and now I zoom, because I cannot change the local, the local scale is the problem, right? I don't, if I change this, if I add a new object at runtime, it ignores. Okay, so the thing is we instantiate that object, right? We instantiate the object here, and then we set the parent to obstacles. And obstacles is this, right? Which is under the camera. So if I change the scale of the camera, the scale of the obstacles changes, right? So Unity objects instantiated at runtime, ignore parent scaling. But I want, so set parent, transform set parent, right? We do that, maybe we need a true here. Maybe the default is false. What is the default? What is the default? The default value is true. If true, the parent relative are modified. Keeps the same world pay. Okay, so if true, if this is true, it keeps its scale, right? Now they will probably spawn in the wrong position. I'm only interested in size right now. Let's see if the size works. I'm not even sure where we're spawning them now. And that's the problem is overloading you. So this works, right? And this works now. So what if we are in mini mode, mini mode? The fish is coming and I'm not sure. Okay, now this works, right? I want to limit the frame rate actually, but this is working now, right? And if I respawn a medium, There's something off with the coordinate system, but we ignore that for the moment. So this is working now, right? And if I spawn, I'm not sure why the fish stops like there. Because this is off screen, it should stop here, right? Let's have a quick look into the fish spawning, right? I think I did some ugly magic there. Go to respawning. Update. Where's the update? So we have the respawning, right? Go to respawning, that's the go-to. Fixed update respawning, right? Can we just jump there? Go to. This should be fine. Weird. But oh. So maybe the transform, right? This is on the transform. So maybe this is not the position. This documentation is so crap. We need the local position, right? You probably want to check the local position here. Adding global is fine, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Right? We want the fish to spawn here on the edge of our fake not moving background. Now this is fine, right? We go to small, we die. We want the fish when respawning to stop here, right? Yeah, we were using the wrong position. Okay, so I need to fix the frame rate, right? Unity limit frame rate, because it's just too fast. Can I set the target frame rate? Unity set target frame rate in editor. I don't want to. Target frame rate is ignored in the editor. Really, you can't. You can't target added project settings frame rate. I mean, okay. Oh, frame rate. Okay, so you can't. Nice. In editor settings, maybe frame rate. I cannot. The problem is, if I look at the stats here, it's running too fast, but our movement, right? Our move, actually our obstacle, right? Our obstacles move in the update, say, we multiply by delta time. So why is this faster? So this feels okay, right? Oh, okay. So if I zoom out, this moves much faster, right? Because I changed the global position. Okay, this is changing the position, right? This should change the local position because the global position, thank you for that broken autocomplete, because that global position is wrong, right? And the same for the fish. Well, the fish is not moving technically, so, but this should probably also be like this. We set the local scaled position, right? So wherever we set position, we should use the local position to adhere to the hierarchy, right? You probably should always work in the local position. So when we offset anything, this is especially broken, right? So position is not found anymore. We probably just broke everything. Let's see. Disable this. I think oh, all the upper stuff is moving in the wrong direction, right? Because the rotation is applied. All the lower ones are moving, scaling independent now, right? But the upper ones are moving in the wrong direction because they're rotated. So there are two ways to do this, right? We add a parent to every object. So what we could do is, ooh, so the problem is, right? We could add a parent here and rotate internally, or we could do a hack, right? So this is the problem, right? So if transform dot local position equals 180, right? Local rotation. And it's probably Z, right? Because when we spawn in the game manager, this is hack, but we have X, Y, Z, right? This is a Z rotation, so we probably need to get the Euler Z, right? Then we say speed equals minus speed. We just flip the speed around, right? But that also means this thing here is wrong. Let's see if this hack works at all, right? It doesn't. Let's say if this is not 0, right? If it is rotated at all, we move it in the other direction. If it's rotated at all, we move it in the other direction. This will break if some level design. Why? Oh, because we were using Radiant, right? Yeah, now this is working. Obviously, if I zoom out now, I died. I didn't want to die. I didn't want to die. Where's the fish? The fish is here, right? But where's my fish? The fish is here, right? The fish is here, so let's disable the background real quick. Because I have the feeling... So the bottom wraps correctly, right? But the top doesn't wrap. And I'm not sure where my fish just went, because it's exactly where it's supposed to be. All right. Okay. Let's disable the background. Let's disable the background. It... It's... This... Wait. Layer. Sorting layer is background, right? Sorting layer is background. The fish is on sorting layer player. So the fish should always be in front of the... Right? They are not wrapping, right? That's expected. So if I die, right, and look at this real quick while dying, fish is up here. I respawn, right? My fish is gone even if it's there, and we can... Where is my fish? It's there. Right? It is there. And it... Where's my fish? Where's my fish? Where? I need a break from Unity. No matter what I did wrong, right? Shouldn't. What I see here, right? Shouldn't. What I see here match what I see here. Is that, I mean, minus, oh, wait, so what's it behind? There, it's transparent, right? There's an, I get that I increase Z, I can, but okay. Okay, so no, I don't want to, it's the respawn, right? It's the respawning. No, go to respawning. Unity is giving me a massive headache, and I never have headaches. So now I have to do the layer management myself. And this is Z10 now, right? This is Z10. Okay, because the layer has an offset of 10, so we shouldn't touch the Z when respawning. We should just get the old Z. I'm just gonna die real quick. And I'm in this view, right? So let's go into this view and actually go into this view. So we respawn and we're there. The funny thing is if I set this to 0, the fish disappears, right? Why does it disappear? I mean, the background is at 10. Why is the background at 10? Oh, 0, below 0 means it's outside of the, it's outside of the clipping from the camera, right? Because the camera has a clipping plane. No, no. Well, 0 makes it clip, right? So 0.3 is the near clipping. But the near is at the camera, so the far is 1000. So does not make any sense, but let's do the respawn right. So let's say var pos equals transform.local position, right? Let me say pos.x equals minus 1024.f and pos.y equals 0.0f, and then we just set that we don't touch the z, right? I mean, Unity is an amazing game engine that makes game development fun. So I respawn. I want to go to this view actually. I get stuck at some point because I'm outside of the normal camera, right? I respawn and everything works. Obviously the wrapping of the bottom works, right? The bottom wraps. Wait, did they wrap all at the same time? Oh, I didn't want to die. Do they wrap all at the same time? They should wrap. Why do they? What is this? What is this here? What is this here? What is this here? You see this here, this. Something is wrong with the local and global position, right? So let's look into the transform real quick, right? Because we have it open somewhere here. So we have the position, the world position is wrong, right? The world position is wrong. The local position is better. Do we have another O? We have local position, we have position. So we want to change the local position, right? The problem is, so, okay. I have no idea what this dot here is, right? No idea what this is. What is this? So question, is this the position? So this is the position we're changing, right? Oh. 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 We're spawning in global position, right? We're spawning in global position, right? Can you not do that? Object instantiate, right? Gets a transform. And then we set the parent. So what if we instantiate position for the new object? So and this is okay. Documentation is clones the original object, right? The original object is our prefab. This is our original object, right? And this original object is at 0 and 0. So what I don't understand is, let me press play and wait forever. Right? The dot is the 0, right? I start playing, I press pause for the moment. That's not where I want it to be. So, right, so we select this thing. No, let's use one of the lower ones. So we select this thing, right? So this is a position, but this should always be 0, right? This should be 0. This should never change. It only ever touching the prefab. We're never touching the insides, right? So if I go into rock A, we should be changing this transform here and never this. This should never be touched. This is a black box, right? Because we instantiate the prefab. We instantiate the prefab that we loaded here, right? We instantiate that prefab. That's sealed. How can the internals of that ever change? Because the obstacle script, because I'm an idiot, right? Because the obstacle script, no, the obstacle script is on this. So, when we change the local position, we change this local position, but the script should be on this, right? So the script, okay. So the script for the obstacle should be at this level, right? And not at this level. Where's the script, right? Let's just look at rock A. That's also why okay, it's interesting because nope. It's interesting because rock A here, right, at the bottom center is here. And if you go here, right, rock A, now the transform changed, but the internal transform didn't change, right? And do we have a rock A at the top somewhere? We have this rock A here, right, which is also rock A. And this also works. And let's actually thank you for going to the, so this now moves in the wrong direction because our fix that we did in the obstacle script, the hack with this here, right? This is because we transforming the global angles and okay, let's remove this hack. Let's remove this hack, right? We start the game again. Let's just look at obstacle A. Right, let's just look at obstacle A for the moment. I'm gonna go small, and so obstacle A is doing exactly what we want right now. And I want to see if the wrap also works, right? So, okay, that wrap killed me. So let's try that again. Let's stay in the middle. Let's stay in the middle. Look at this object. This object is moving correctly and should wrap roundabout now. Okay, that wraps correctly. Okay, that was my mistake. That was my mistake. So let's quickly fix all the rocks. I mean, it's good that we changed all of them, right? Is there a way? Wouldn't it be nice if I could drag this to? I can. But I don't trust Unity. Let's check if this works. Let's check if this works. Let's go medium size, right? So rock B should also be doing the right thing now, and let's watch the wrapping, right? Because this should wrap, and then the next one should wrap. Yeah, that looks good. So my bad, I messed that up, right? And here we can just on rock A, right? We can just remove the obstacle script, completely delete this, remove this. So we need to go through all the rocks, go to the lower one and drag the script to the upper one. Why didn't this? You saw me do that just 30 seconds ago, right? You, there's an arrow, right? You see the arrow change? Okay, now it worked. I'm not sure. So I need to wait for, oh, I can. Okay, that's good that we found out before we added more obstacles, right? I mean, that's why you should probably not even do any of this in the editor and do it all in code, because then it would have been free. Okay, all the obstacles should be fixed. Have lesson learned, have the scripts at the top level of a prefab and not be very careful when being at the lower level, right? And I'm going to go medium here, and actually let's go a bit up, and this should wrap around nicely now, right? So, wow. I mean, obviously the positioning now doesn't work with the wrapping because we mixed the old level and the new level, right? Because this is leftovers from the old level plus the beginning of the new, well, plus the beginning of the wraparound. My brain was melting there for a second. Mixing local and global, very dangerous. So there's one more thing I want to do before I take a little break, and that is basically 2D. Actually, let's go to the main scene, right? We have this, we have the frame. So I want to do, and I have no idea if this is too much, this frame, right? So we see what the camera would see. Just have a full frame. So in Godot, this is simply debug UI. This is simply this panel, right? This is simply this thing. It's just a panel that's just a frame. Nothing to it, right? It's just a it's just a panel, right? It's just a panel. Let's stop this so maybe it's easier to see here. It's just a panel which is off by default, right? And if I change the type, it's just a panel. So given Unity UI, I mean, are you kidding me? So we have the debug UI, right? I'm not sure what this is. Wait. What is... This is the button, right? But this is the box? No. I have no idea what this is. This is the box? I don't want to touch it, but the width and height sound... I mean, it looks okay, so I'm gonna ignore it for the moment, but I'm gonna watch a ton of UI tutorials for Unity, but trivial containers done to what the hell am I doing? I mean, Unity is losing ground fast. So all I want to do is, right, can I just add a frame? UI. what if the problem is if I add a panel, right? If I add a panel, debug, and I call this camera frame, right? Right. Probably should have just used the in-game view instead of pressing play. So this is the full screen, right? And actually it's blocking my clicking now, so, and it's camera frame. So can we say, okay, this turns it on and off, right? We have a material. I'm not sure why this is using the background image here, but okay, it's not our background, it's Unity background. Okay. Um, so if we make it not a raycast target, right? Will it be, it means we can click through it, right? The problem is it should be scaling, right? But we can scale the camera frame manually, right? And that's not what I wanted to do, right? So we could scale the camera frame with the zoom button. I mean, that would be fine, right? And what if can I change the layer? Can I, this doesn't have any effect, right? This doesn't change anything because it's in the UI layer. I want it in the background, but what we could do is we could just make it a bit more transparent and give it this, I don't know, something like this, right? Maybe not a values to be tweaked. Ideally, I want it inverted. I want what's outside colored, but this is a good start, right? I mean, this would be nice actually if this was in the back, but for debugging, that's good enough, right? We could use a texture that's just a frame. Actually, that's a good idea, right? So let's do that. Let's wire it up first. Let's wire it up, and then we tweak it, right? So we actually let's go to the texture and duplicate the texture to be just the frame, right? So the texture, where is this texture? Where actually, where is the, where is this background, right? Where is this texture coming from? This we can delete, right? Because we're not using that. But where is this? Okay, this is the default, and there's a, we don't use UI toolkit, right? So where is the, no, it's in the package, right? It's in the package, and there's probably Unity UI in there, and there's runtime UI editor UI. Where the hell? So, okay, we have this frame, right? And this texture here is somewhere. I cannot right click here. Resources, Unity, built-in extra. Okay. Resources. Unity resources built-in extra. How do I get it out of there? Unity built-in extra. Yes. I mean, okay. I'm gonna open GIMP real quick. Probably on the wrong screen. Hand on the blackout button. Oh, yeah, it's on the other screen. So I'm gonna say file new 48 by 48, right? So we have a 48 by 48, right? View, zoom, very big. Make this all black. Select all. Oh, add alpha layer. Add alpha channel. Control X, right? Select all. And then I'm just going to go wide and say select, shrink the selection by, let's say, 5 pixels, right? Okay. 5 is too much. Selection, shrink the selection by 2 pixels. Select, invert the selection, and then just say edit, fill with foreground color, right? Just to get the right frame. So I'm gonna save this. Fine, I'm gonna go to my file. I'm gonna save the save dialog just disappeared somewhere. There it is. Where's the where did the save dialog go? GIMP just put the save dialog somewhere. If I do this, I see it here, right? Okay, I just got the export dialog. GIMP doesn't like it to move it across screens, right? So I go to the project. Give me a second. Too much work. We go to the Fiiish v3, right? Okay. Do not move GIMP dialogs across screens. Okay, let's do this again. Let's do this again. File, new. 48 by 48, right? Add alpha channel, all, cut it, select all, select, shrink by 2 pixels, select, invert, and then just edit, fill with foreground color, right? So view, zoom, file, export. Assets, UI. Hello? Something is weird today, right? We call this simple frame. Simple frame, no EXIF, no color profile, no resolution, no creation time, no background color, right? Just export it. So, and we discard the changes, right? I have no idea what happened there. And then for the camera frame, right, we select the simple frame and the material is what was the material for this? No material. Image type is sliced, right? This is sliced. Pixels per unit. This image doesn't have a border. What? What do you mean this image doesn't have a border? What do you mean this image doesn't have a border? I mean, this is almost good enough for me. This is almost good enough for me, right? Because we see the scaling we didn't implement the scaling yet, right? I don't want to go too far, but this is kind of if we imagine we scale 50% and then go to the camera frame and also scale that. Can you lock this please by default? Right, this is what we want. And then we could tweak it a bit to be more debuggy, right? This is kind of ideally I wanted the frame, but let's see. How do we set the border? Sprite and UI, texture shape, mesh type is tight. Advanced. Where do I set the border? Unity 3x3 set border. I mean, no, this is good. Yes, setting up your sprite. Mesh type, full rect. Next, you need to define in the sprite editor. Really, in the sprite editor? I mean, obviously, that's where I would have looked for stuff like that. And then I say border is 2, 2, 2, 2, right? How do I apply this and close this? And now if I run, now if it ever runs, now at some point, it still doesn't work because I didn't set it sliced. Filled center. I'm not sure why this is not. And then we click this, right? And I'm not sure. I am not sure why this is rendered like this. Oh, because, okay. My bad. We have to go. We have the filtering on, right? So we have the filtering on, so we have to go to the sprite and set the sprite mode single. Point filtering, right? Filtering, compression, none. Unsaved changes. Okay, save the changes. I mean, This frame down here looks correct, right? So, oh, wait. Oh, okay. Okay, my bad, my bad. So we can scale lower, but if we go here and then I go to the camera frame and set that to 0.5, I'm not sure why it's cutting off the bottom, to be honest. This is almost what we want, right? So I'm gonna ignore the bottom cutting off. I mean, oh, should it have been, should we, okay. Should this be -2? No. Select sliced. Simple, sliced. We want sliced, right? We want sliced, not tiled. Okay, I don't, so this is correct, right? This frame here looks good. This frame looks good. Pivot center, normalized. I want pixels, right? But in the end, all this is good. So we can close this. And this looks good, right? I'm not sure why this camera frame, maybe this is one off by 1 pixel and then everything falls apart, right? Thank you, Unity, for not doing what you're supposed to do. I mean, would be too easy, right? Oh, now it works. I'm not sure what I changed, but now it works. And if we use the camera frame and scale this to 0.5, right? And scale this to 0. So this was just there a second ago, right? Oh, it's the filtering. Okay, it's filtering out the... It's just 2 pixels, so it's rounding down. We probably want to... Okay, maybe I'm not happy of this, but maybe we want to enable filtering here again. Yes, save this. Thank you. Also, the mip maps are probably broken if it's using mip maps. So yeah, now it's filtering, but the thing is, now it's not doing the weird thing anymore, right? Maybe that is a better debug frame even with the filtering. Let's leave that on. And actually, where is the generate mip maps? Okay, and now we can disable the filtering, right? We save this. This will take... I just did say save, right? Oh, I have to click apply. Why would the save button be ever in the same position? So one more shot and then we write the script and then I take a break and have some food. Does sound amazing, right? Because we're 2.5 hours into a 2-hour stream. But the nice thing is I set this to medium and then hooking. Can you? I'm not sure why this is not always linked. And it's still eating the border. So I'm gonna live with that, right? Because that's just the Unity. I mean, this is just rendering the buffer again, right? So you see this is just a Unity issue, basically. So let's wire these two together and be happy with it, right? So the camera frame. The camera frame. So we could tag the camera frame, right? Or we just search by name. So in the debug UI, in the script, right? In the script. So in the debug UI script, we have a private, and that type here is I don't even know what the type of this thing was, right? This is a panel. So this is a panel, and this is just a game object, right? Because we only need the transform. So we have a private game object, camera debug or debug camera frame. And this is private, right? Camera frame equals null. We say in start, we say camera frame equals game object dot find, and the name is camera frame, right? And now we have to be careful, it needs to be this name. And I didn't save, so I'm not sure. So we have the camera frame, right? So when we set the zoom, we want to say camera frame dot transform dot local scale, not lossy scale, local scale. Local scale equals vector 3. And yes, I should have written new, then the autocompletion would have worked. And that is basically, oh, wait. I obviously wanted to put that into the set zoom and not in the, and yeah, let's be double safe here, right? Say if we have a camera frame, if not, we probably should shout foul, but this is value, 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 right? So let's see if this works, as all compiler errors have to be fixed. So semicolon expected. Oh yeah, my bad, mixing languages. So my expectation is this debug frame now scales with the so if I press the button, it works. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Cause set zoom, right? Sets the slider. So we don't want to do it here. We want to do it. We do it when the zoom changed. We do it here. My bad, right? So let's try this once more. That was on me. That was on me. I need a break. I'm hungry. But we're gonna do another one later. Can you please just run when I press go? This should have taken 20 minutes. I'm sorry about this, but and I did save this, right? it worked on the buttons, and when I moved it to the slider, it stopped working. And you just did compile. Why are you... Okay, it works on the buttons, right? It works on the slider. It's still, we look into the rounding issues, but this is what we want to see, right? So if I'm normal, but we can see that it fits. So nice thing is now I have this frame, right? And I know what the camera would see, which helps immensely while debugging, so stuff doesn't plop out in screen. Or if we die, we see the fish moves out of the screen, but we still see where it is. So one more thing, right? One more thing. I want this toggle button. So to the UI, to the debug UI panel here, right? I'm going to create an empty and call this camera debug hbox, right? This is an hbox which is above the bottom spacer. I add a component here. Let's layout. Horizontal layout group, right? And then I'm gonna add UI text. Next, right? And the text is debug camera. Debug camera. No. Debug camera. I'm not sure why this box is not the full width, right? So is it actually this panel, right? Has a child force expand. I'm not sure why this text line breaks. Why does this text have a line break? Because this text is not using the full width, right? And this font is, I don't know why we use a font this gigantic, right? Let's actually, another thing that would just work in Godot, because it would just use the seam, but okay, my bad. And so, okay, this is so annoying, so much. So this is the debug camera label, right? And then we want to add a UI. I hope there's a toggle, and the toggle now has a text, right? The toggle has its own text. I mean, consistency. Debug camera toggle, right? Which has its own label automatically, which is a different font and a different font size, and obviously, so we can remove this here. I'm not sure why this label is not visible, because because the toggle is not wide enough, right? And not high enough. I mean, UI work in Unity is abysmal. Maybe we should write a Unity plugin for Unity UI plugin that uses Godot to create UIs. but we have this. I mean, this doesn't even. I mean, come on. This doesn't even fit together in any way. Okay. You have this debug camera toggle, right? So this debug camera toggle has a on value changed boolean. So we're gonna have a public void on debug camera changed bool value, right? That does nothing. So we wire this up now. So what we can do is we know how this works now, right? I wonder. I mean, I would press the. It's nice that you change a script and your UI resets. Why? We could press plus and then drag it into the object. I wonder what happens if I just. Okay, I can't do this. I have to press here, and then I have to drag, and then I can select the function, right? And there's the on debug camera changed. I'm not sure. So what do we want to do? On debug camera changed, we say if we have a camera frame, right? If we have a camera frame, we say camera frame dot visib this hidden game object. Let's use the document, right? Game object methods. Where's can I just jump to the methods, right? Adding, removing. Oh, it's important classes. I just wanted the reference, right? No. Unity documentation. So can I just get the reference? The game object script reference. Thank you. Hide. So active in hierarchy. Active in hierarchy. Can we just active self public bool the local act read only set active activate or deactivate the object, right? So set active is value. Set active is. Let's see if this works. I need a break. Unity. I'm sorry. I really wanted to like Unity again, but so okay. So we have the debug camera, right? We have the debug camera. Where's the? We have the camera frame here, right? Which is currently inactive. So okay. Wait. I can turn it on here, right? I can turn it off here, but not on again. What the? So I can turn it off but not on again? Have you tried turning it off and never on again? So console, right? I click it. False. It's set to false, right? So it turns off. I click on. Why? Why is it false if I... Wait, what? So I have the toggle, right? So this is on as toggled, but wait. Really? I okay. On value changed Boolean, right? So shouldn't the signal is not sending us the value of the box, the signal is sending us this, right? Oh, it's Boolean. What's the difference? Is there a difference between bool and Boolean? There's a difference between bool and Boolean. I mean, let's just try this again, right? I drag this in here. On value changed. Toggle. On okay. Static properties. I don't care. Properties, label, raw value. I can get the value, right? I could just grab the value, but I'd rather have it passed on to me in the event. Register callback. I mean, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. We have the zoom slider, and that zoom slider here has a signal, right? A float. So we have a method that has a float. So the float is get passed on. But we have a toggle here, which has a value of Boolean, right? So I expected it to pass on the Boolean, but it's actually as Unity toggle on value changed parameter. It's just wrong. Doesn't change, yeah. Really? There's different. Oh, Obviously, right? Obviously, there's Unity! Broken pile of crap. Okay, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. So there's only one thing left to do, right? Our initial state is wrong. So what if we turn the camera frame off in the editor because we want to start without it, right? And then the initial state of my toggle box here, the initial state, which you can't see here, but this is actually on, doesn't match the state, right? So if I turn it off, it matches now, and if I turn it on, what the? If I turn it on and press play, right? If I turn it off, it toggles this off, right? If I turn it on, it toggles this on. If I toggle this off, it works, right? It works. If I start in toggled off state, what? So it's off now, right? It's off. It's off. The button doesn't matter, but it's off. I cannot turn it on, right? Because the object does not exist. If I turn it on, it doesn't work anymore because I missed the object, right? So my guess is that game object find only finds it, and that when it is actually active. Only returns active. If you So how do I find an inactive game? Okay, and we probably should do transform find instead of game active, right? Because name of finds a child. No, we don't want a child. We want children's children, right? Unity find inactive game object. Find objects of type. Has an include inactive. Find objects by type. Does this... Wait. This is very slow. It's recommended to use... Wait. Oh, of type and by type. Okay, find objects by type. Inactive. You want the fourth version, right? Find objects by type. Find objects by type, the type, sort mode none and true, right? So, okay. Obviously, so find objects by type. But I mean, the thing is, we know it's a child, right? We know it's a direct child. So maybe we should do the transform find. Can find transform of disabled game object. It's not recursive, so we can just do the transform find, and then do game object on that, right? Will it find it or will it crash? I mean, this crashes now if it, right? It's disabled. Wait, did it crash? Or was it running? Unity making game development insanely hard, right? So it's disabled. The initial state is wrong. And I cannot enable it, right? Because it's not found. But it says, can find transform of disabled game object. So if debug.log, thank you for being super helpful with the auto completion today. I mean, might be some days yes, some days no, right? So, okay, in the console. So I expect it. Let's see if it works if it's on, right? Step one. Let's see if it works when it's on. It's on, right? Console. I expect it to be found. Camera frame, we found the camera frame, right? We found it. And it's working as expected. So we stop this, we turn it off, and the documentation explicitly says find, can find, transform of disabled game object. Right? Can find, transform of disabled game object. So it's disabled now. Oh, is it disabled or is it inactive? Oh, interesting. So if I press play now, no reference, right? It's not found. It can, okay. So this is not disabled, right? This is, ooh. Unity disabled versus inactive. Maybe that's our problem. Active and deactive scripts can be enabled and disabled. Can I just please hide the game object? Or maybe it's a transform that I need to hide. So what if instead of using this, right, I use this transform properties? Is there a visible property? Ein child, look at set. Okay, it's not the transform, it's on the game object, right? So active is wrong. Unity hide game object. So I still believe this is the right thing to do. But the problem is when it's find does, I mean, oh wait, transform find, right? Not find child by name and returns it. Oh, this is transform find, right? Ah, my bad. My bad. So let's try this again. Let's try this again. We're getting there. Uppercase, lowercase, mixed case. Wouldn't it be just dot and colon make more sense? I mean, static versus non-static. It's okay. So let's try this once more. Works, right? Works as expected. So we stop this. We make it inactive. We start this again. Wait for the compiler for some weird reason. We clicked one button, right? And we're waiting for an import, asset import. So obviously it's off now. The initial state is broken. And okay, I can toggle it now. So all we have to do is set the initial state, right? So add start, right? Problem is to get the initial state, to get the initial state, we need to find the debug camera toggle, right? So var debug camera toggle, right? And only then, wouldn't it be nice if UI elements at startup just sent their value, triggered their changed method once? I mean, would have been too easy, right? So game object, probably just game object find, right? Wait. You do this in the game, right? Find with tag. we need to do a get component, right? So we do a find on game object. I don't care, right? And this is the geo. And then we say var debug camera toggle equals debug camera toggle do get component, and the component is toggle, right? And then we say set basically we just do on debug camera changed, right? You say debug camera toggle dot bell is on, right? So we check if we find the debug camera toggle. If we find this, we get the toggle component, and then we just set the toggle accordingly. So we should this Unity. I'm gonna give up on Unity. So no, this is the button. I want the frame, right? The frame is off. So I want this button to be off when I press play, but still work. So whatever we set in the editor should be reflected at game startup, right? Because otherwise we'll go crazy. And it is off. Right. Oh, my bad, right? Oh, my bad. We actually want to, no. We want to set the debug camera toggle, right? Set is on without notify to camera frame is active, right? We did it the wrong way around. We take the camera frame and copy its state to the toggle. Okay, once more with it. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if we could sync this button and this checkbox and this checkbox in editor? We could, but that's going too far. I mean, that should be an editor feature, right? And to be fair, we didn't do that in Godot. So debug camera is off because we had it turned off in the editor, right? And if I turn it on, it's on. And if I turn it off, it's off, right? So if I turn it on in editor, in the property inspector, precision, 3 hours to create this crappy looking UI down here. It's on, right? And it's actually on and it still works. So we probably make that dependent on what build type it is later. Is this a release, then this is off. If it's local in editor, it's on. If it's a debug build, it's whatever we wanted. But, oh my goodness, see this ugly pile of down here? That is basically this good looking thing down here, right? Which is this ugly thing down here. It's and this was literally 5 minutes of work, and this was 3 hours. 3 hours? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry about that. That was not what was planned, right? So here's what I will do. And I'm not sure I have to figure this out at some point, right? But we added the Unity button. Okay, yeah, let's put that in. We need to add a git ignore, right? We fixed the rocks. We fixed the rocks. We had the script on the wrong level, so all the rock prefabs will be changed. Right, we added, I mean, this is completely unreadable, but we added some game objects, which we had added the zoom slider and the callbacks for that. We added the main camera, the bottom spacer. This is, this is intro. We added the game manager. Probably we should have put the debug UI into a prefab, but I'm the only one working on this project. So lots of changes to the main scene, which are completely unreadable. Fine with me. So we added the transform fix, right? So we don't accidentally kill the Z on the fish. We update the local position instead of the global position because of scaling applying from the camera. In the game manager, we reapply. We don't fix the world position, right? On the obstacle, we had this hack, which is not needed anymore. We also switched to local position. This diff looked a bit weird. And the tag manager, we have the debug UI now. Okay, fine with me. And then we also have probably new files, right? In Unity, git add Unity fish v3 assets scripts star ci star, right? To catch these here. We have assets text mesh pro. I'm not sure we need UI toolkit because we didn't end up using it, but Unity might still believe we're... Oh, that captured it, right? And then we touched the timeline settings. I'm not sure why, but... the store. I'm not sure if we should commit the JetBrains things. Looks good to me. Let's update the to-do real quick. Cause what did we do today? 2024 09 15. Hashtag Unity add some basic debug UI. And we didn't work on zone management at all, right? Well, that's not completely true. Unity switch to local transforms, right? So S01 E09 add some basic debug UI to Unity. On E09 switch to local transforms in Unity. And this is a change, and this is an addition, right? And we're going to stage this. I'm going to commit 103 files. I mean, oh, it's the whole text mesh processing, which... let's see. Commit, rebase, push, play, You know who I am. If I can get myself motivated to touch Unity again later, we'll might do phase 2 and actually where's the debug camera? Oh, there it is. There it is. It was just in normal view. It was just outside of the visible area. So I want to get rid of that wrapping and actually spawn the zones in the right position. And now that we can go into small mode and actually see where it's spawned, that actually makes sense. And maybe we add some seaweed. But for now, thank you for being here. Stay safe. And I might see you later. Otherwise, it's Tuesday.